All right, so we're diving into Chapter 2 of Artificial Empathy, and you sent this in, and wow, from diversity to awe.
Yeah.
That title alone, that's really got me intrigued. It feels like this chapter is going to turn everything we think we know about intelligence on its head.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating is the author kicks it off just by geeking out on all the different types of intelligence in nature.
Right.
It's not just us brainy humans.
Yeah.
You got like octopuses with their multiple brains.
Oh, wait, multiple brains?
Yeah.
Hold on. Each arm has its own brain.
It's not like completely separate brains, but they have these clusters of neurons in each arm that can process information and control movement, like semi-autonomously.
Oh, so it's not like a whole brain. It's like a mini brain.
Right.
So instead of having one big brain calling all the shots, you've got like this network of smaller brains that are all working together.
Exactly.
That's like how the internet works, right? It's distributed and resilient.
Yeah.
Totally different from how we usually think about AI.
Exactly. And seeing this kind of diversity in nature makes you wonder if our current AI approaches, which are mostly based on copying the human brain, maybe they're missing out on some key insights.
So all this hype about AI being modeled after the brain,
Right.
maybe that's not the whole picture.
Yeah, and even a single neuron, if you look at it, it's way more complex than we thought. The author dives into this research on how neurons communicate using packets of RNA code.
Really?
So it's each neuron isn't just sending data points, it's sending instructions, almost like little tiny programmers.
It's like they're talking in code.
Yeah.
Our neurons are having a secret conversation we don't even know about.
Yeah, it's super complex. And it challenges like a lot of what we assume about how the brain works.
Yeah.
And this level of like communication within and between neurons, it's something that AI research is really only starting to grapple with.
So we're looking at nature and we're realizing, wow, nature's a lot more sophisticated than we give it credit for.
Definitely.
But how does this all connect back to building better AI?
The author uses this kind of surprising example to illustrate this point.
Okay.
The wheel.
Okay.
You would think that something as simple and as useful as the wheel would have popped up in nature.
Right. Like, why hasn't nature invented the wheel?
Exactly. It seems so obvious. But it all comes down to how nature prioritizes like different design principles than us human engineers. A detached rotating part, like a wheel, doesn't really jive with how biological organisms grow and adapt. Nature favors interconnectedness and adaptability.
So it's like our bodies are built from the inside out.
Yeah.
Where like every cell is part of this larger interconnected system, whereas our machines are more like putting together separate parts.
Think of it like this. Every cell is like a little mini factory, capable of sustaining itself and contributing to the larger whole. Our cars, on the other hand, need this whole global supply chain just for fuel. Biology has figured out how to build these incredibly robust and sustainable systems. And that's something that we can learn a lot from when we're thinking about AI.
So it's like we need to shift our thinking about AI from just like crunching numbers to understanding how living things create and sustain themselves. It's about building from the inside out.
Precisely. The author argues that we need a new framework for understanding and achieving AGI. And this is where it gets really interesting. They introduce this concept of biosemiotics.
Biosemiotics?
Yeah.
That's a mouthful.
I know it sounds intimidating.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as it sounds. Think of it as like the study of signs and meaning in living systems. So a dog wagging its tail. That's not just a random movement. It's a sign.
It means something.
It conveys meaning.
Yeah.
Biosemiotics is all about understanding how these signs work in nature. And how AI might learn to interpret them.
So instead of just processing data, AI needs to understand the meaning behind the data.
Exactly.
Just like we do when we see a dog wagging its tail, we know that means the dog is happy.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But how do we even start to build something like that?
The author argues that we need to move beyond a purely mechanistic view of intelligence and start thinking about how living things create themselves from the inside out. And this is where the concept of self-models comes in.
Self-models?
Yeah.
You mean like how we see ourselves in the mirror?
Yes, but it's much more than that. It's not just our physical self-image. There are different types of self-models, our body, our perspective, our actions, our social interactions.
So it's like having these internal maps of ourselves and how we relate to the world.
Exactly. And these self-models are constantly being updated through our interactions with the environment.
Yeah.
They allow us to understand our place in the world, to make predictions, to take actions.
This is getting deep.
I know, right?
So are you saying we need to give AI a sense of self?
It's not about programming it indirectly.
Okay.
It's about creating an architecture that allows these self-models to emerge organically through interaction.
So
just like in biological systems.
Like how a baby learns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty radical idea.
It is a radical idea.
Picking up where we left off, this idea is that by encouraging like an AI to explore and learn about its surroundings, we could actually see these self-models start to develop naturally.
So like a baby discovering its own hands and feet.
Exactly. And there's research showing that even basic self-awareness can emerge from like pretty simple algorithms driven by curiosity. Imagine an AI that's constantly asking, what happens if I do this?
Right.
What if I go there?
It's like playing.
Exactly. And through this exploration, it begins to understand its own agency, its ability to impact its surroundings.
It's like giving the AI a digital playground and just letting it figure things out on its own.
Exactly. It's about embracing that messiness, the unpredictability of learning.
It's so different from just feeding it data or like programming in specific rules.
Exactly. And once the AI has a sense of its own body in space, it can start to build on that foundation. It might start to grasp its own perspective, like its unique viewpoint on the world. And eventually even its social role.
So first I exist, then I have a point of view, and then I'm part of a bigger picture.
Exactly.
It's like watching a kid grow up.
Right.
But in the digital realm.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's about moving away from this top-down approach to AI design and embracing a more bottom-up developmental perspective.
So instead of trying to program intelligence into AI, we're creating an environment where intelligence can emerge naturally.
Exactly, through interaction and exploration. And what's really cool is the author gives this visual in the chapter.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a radar chart comparing different species based on their self-model strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, it's like you had octopuses excelling at body awareness.
Because of all those arms.
Because of all those arms and brain.
And the brains.
And then there were ravens mastering perspective.
Yeah, they can see the world from another bird's point of view.
That's so cool.
I know, it's amazing.
And then, of course, humans at the top for social skills.
Of course, yeah. We're pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating illustration of how different forms of intelligence prioritize different types of self-models.
Okay.
And this suggests that maybe we should be thinking of intelligence not as one single thing, but as a spectrum.
A whole spectrum.
Of different cognitive abilities.
Yeah.
Each built upon these underlying self-models.
So instead of asking, is this AI intelligent, we should be asking, what are its strengths and weaknesses?
Exactly.
What kind of intelligence is it developing?
Exactly. And this leads to a really crucial point the author makes about generalization.
Okay.
What it truly means for an AI to generalize its knowledge and abilities.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so they argue that true generalization goes beyond just recognizing patterns or adapting to new situations.
Right.
It's about mastering something called empathic conversational cognition.
Empathic conversational cognition.
Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful.
Like, break that down for me.
Okay, think of it as the ability to engage in meaningful dialogue with other intelligent beings and collaboratively solve problems.
So it's not just about spitting out information, it's actually understanding.
Exactly. It's about understanding the other participant, their intentions, their emotions, and being able to work together towards a common goal.
So the AI isn't just spitting out facts.
Right.
It's trying to actually understand what the other person is thinking and feeling.
Exactly. It's about reading between the lines.
Okay.
Picking up on social cues. Understanding the unspoken context of the conversation.
Right.
And adapting your communication style accordingly.
Wow, that's a tall order.
It is.
It's like the ultimate test of both intelligence and social skills.
It is, but imagine if we can crack that code.
Oh, the possibilities.
The possibilities are endless.
AI that can truly collaborate with humans.
Exactly.
On complex tasks. From scientific research to creative problem solving to maybe even writing a podcast.
Maybe not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
But the author makes a compelling case that this kind of empathic conversational cognition is a key to unlocking true AGI. It's about moving beyond seeing intelligence as this purely individualistic pursuit and embracing the social collaborative nature of how humans think and learn.
So we need AI that can understand us,
yes,
work with us, and learn from us.
Exactly.
But how do we even begin to measure whether an AI is capable of this?
That's a great question, and the author proposes a really interesting framework that we'll dive into in just a second.
Okay, so we're back and ready to unpack this framework for measuring empathic conversational cognition.
Yeah.
It feels like a tough thing to quantify.
It is.
So I'm really curious to hear how the author tackles this.
They propose this really clever approach based on analyzing a three-part conversational exchange.
3 parts.
Yeah.
So it's not just about whether the AI can hold a conversation, but the structure.
The structure of that conversation. Exactly.
Okay.
So the first part is all about understanding.
Okay.
Can the AI grasp the other participant's mental model? Can it anticipate their knowledge?
So it's not just spitting out facts. It's like tailoring its communication to whoever it's talking to.
Exactly.
Like if I'm a beginner at something, the AI would explain things to me differently than if I were like an expert.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that communication isn't one size fits all. Then comes the second part, processing. The AI needs to take in the other participant's response, not just as data, but as information that updates its own internal model of who it's talking to.
So it's like the AI is constantly learning and refining its understanding of the other person.
Exactly, through this back and forth.
Through the back and forth of the
conversation, exactly. And that leads to the third part, the response. Can the AI craft a new response that reflects this deeper understanding? Does it demonstrate that it's not just following a script, but genuinely engaging in a meaningful exchange of ideas?
I like that 3-part structure. It seems to really get to the heart of what makes a conversation truly empathic.
Yeah, it's not just about words. It's about understanding, adapting, and responding in a way that shows you're really listening and learning from the other person.
And this framework can be used to assess all sorts of conversations, right?
Exactly.
Between AI and humans, AI and other AI. Even AI interacting with its environment.
Exactly. It's like a universal language for measuring intelligent interaction.
That's powerful.
And the author takes it even further. They compare this conversational model of intelligence to other popular theories out there.
Like that free energy principle.
Yes. Minimizing surprise, maximizing predictability.
Does that line up with the conversational approach?
It touches on some similar ideas, especially in terms of how intelligent systems try to make sense of the world. But the conversational model goes further by emphasizing the active role of collaboration and shared intentionality.
So it's not just about an individual agent optimizing its own beliefs.
Exactly.
It's about agents working together.
Working together towards a shared goal.
To achieve a shared goal. What about that idea of intelligence being all about maximizing future freedom, like choosing actions that open up more possibilities down the line?
That absolutely fits into the conversational puzzle. Empathic conversational cognition requires an AI to not only understand its own goals, but to anticipate the needs and goals of others. And this leads to more flexible and adaptable strategies, opening up a wider range of potential actions and outcomes.
So then there's that idea of intelligence as compression.
Like
finding the most efficient way to represent information.
Yeah, compression is definitely important. But language, especially in a social context, is about so much more than just compacting data. It's about nuanced context and shared understanding.
A simple okay can mean so many different things. Depending on the tone and the context.
Exactly.
You can't forget about those hardcore computational theories either.
Like Kolmogorov complexity.
Kolmogorov complexity.
Solomonoff induction. Trying to find the shortest program that can generate a given set of data.
Where do those fall on the conversational spectrum?
They offer valuable insights into the computational underpinnings of intelligence. But they often struggle to account for the messy, subjective realities.
Human conversation is full of ambiguities, unspoken assumptions, emotional undercurrents.
Exactly. It's not always logical or predictable.
And then lastly, we have the integrated information theory.
Yes, focusing on the interconnectedness of conscious experience.
How does that relate to empathic conversational cognition?
while integration is definitely crucial for awareness and complex thought, it doesn't necessarily address the social and collaborative aspects of intelligence. Empathic conversational cognition takes integration a step further. By requiring an AI to not only be aware of its own internal state, but to model and understand the internal states of others.
So it's like taking all these different pieces of the intelligence puzzle, computation, autonomy, social interaction, and weaving them together into this more holistic framework that emphasizes the power of communication and collaboration.
It's not just about being smart, it's about being socially smart.
Okay, after this deep dive into artificial empathy, what's the big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is this intelligence isn't just about crunching numbers or winning games. It's about understanding, connecting, and collaborating with others. And as we venture further into the world of AI, we need to be asking not just, can AI think, but can AI empathize? Can AI communicate? Can AI work with us to build a better future?
I like that it's a good reminder that we are social creatures at our core.
We are.
And that our ability to connect and collaborate is really what makes us special.
Absolutely.
So much to think about.
I know.
This chapter has really got me thinking about both AI and my own human intelligence in a whole new way.
I agree. It's been a fascinating discussion.
It looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into Chapter 2 of Artificial Empathy. Big thanks to you for sharing this chapter with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's been a thought-provoking conversation. And I have a feeling we'll be revisiting these ideas.
I think so too.
For quite some time.
Definitely.